Corey Aston then place the ball down, and he will get this one underway, and it's game time here, and Corey Aston kicks deep towards the Rochdale team, and that is collected by Chris Riley over on the northern stand terrace side. So Rochdale then with the ball first in hand, and that will find its way to Kevin Penny, taking his first drive of the afternoon, and wrapped up there by Damien Sirenen and Liam Kirk in the tackle. Rochdale then will look to come forward, making yards up over their own 30-metre line on the third tackle, and quickly again, as I highlighted in the preamble there, we see Lewis Foster, the hooker, trying to get his team on the front foot, as now Rochdale playing it in their change strip today of slate grey on the fifth and last, make it up to halfway, and the kick will come from Lewis Palfrey, and Lewis Palfrey then manages to kick that deep. That's collected by Ethan Ryan, and Ethan Ryan brings the ball back and manages to make his way over the 30-metre line before Elias McCartney takes the ball on his first drive of the afternoon and gets Bradford over their own 40-metre line. Scott Moore then in at acting half. Scott Moore feeds Damien Sirenen on his first drive of the afternoon, and Damien Sirenen gets that big frame going forward. Wrapped up by 3 Rochdale tacklers as Bradford sit just shy of the halfway line on the fourth tackle. Liam Kirk then is wrapped up on that one, as Rochdale a little bit slow to clear the ruck. And the ball goes through hands to Joe Keys to James Bentley. James Bentley is eventually wrapped up on the fifth and last tackle, just 5 metres inside the Rochdale half, as the ball goes through hands, eventually finds Corey Aston. Corey Aston there taking in a bit of a collision afterwards, but the ball goes through to Declan Kay, the Rochdale fullback. He will take that one and return that one back towards his own 20-metre line. Rochdale then with Chris Riley taking his first drive of the afternoon, the former Warrington and Super League star, will get Rochdale just shy of their own 30-metre line, as Bradford standing up in defence and again muscling up and keeping Rochdale inside their own half on this one. Fourth tackle then as the ball goes through hands. Rochdale playing one out rugby so far, and again managing to inch their way forward as Bradford stand tough in the defence, and we see the first penalty afternoon given to Rochdale for slight little infringement there. Jordan Case getting the penalty for Rochdale. Danica, so far so good. Anything that you've seen?
No, well, Rochdale just playing a nice simple rugby like we talked about earlier on. You know, like you say, it is one up, it's nothing special, it's nothing pretty, but they are getting the yards. So
Tiara then takes the first drive for Rochdale. He will get Rochdale just shy of Bradford Bull's 20-metre line, as Rochdale continue to take the ball towards the northern stand terrace side, and that looks forward, and I'm so glad that the referee Andy Sweet agrees with me from where we're sat, but again Bradford getting out of jail.
Yeah, that was really lucky then. There was a little bit of an overlap that Rochdale had there, and they're just about to utilise it. Unfortunately, that pass didn't quite come off, but Bradford need to be careful about their spacings there.
So Bradford will get the put in then when the scrum will form 20 metres in from the northern terrace touchline and on the Bradford Bulls' own 10-metre line. The ball goes in, eventually comes out to Damien Sirenen, and Damien Sirenen will take another drive. He's met by 3 Rochdale tacklers and eventually brought down. Very slow to clear the area to allow Bradford to get any advantages. Liam Kirk now takes a drive, as he has done all season, ever present this season, Liam Kirk. And he will get Bradford on the front foot. Scott Moore takes the ball from hooker and makes some good yards forward there. Bradford now over their own 30-metre line and search of going forward. Ethan Ryan comes in, and Ethan Ryan will get his Bradford teammates up to the halfway line and is awarded a penalty for a bit of a cheap shot there from Rochdale. So that will allow Bradford now to take the penalty and get themselves a little bit further down the field, and they will get the ball back. And play will recommence 35 metres from the Rochdale try line then. James Bentley will feed John Magrin, and John Magrin takes a fantastic drive forward there. And Bradford inching slowly but surely towards the Rochdale 20-metre line on the second tackle. Evan Hodgson now takes the ball, and Evan Hodgson in the wrestle here, still not going down. Eventually he's brought down by Lewis Galbraith, the centre for Rochdale. As Tiara comes in, Tiara tries to wrap up Damien Sirenen, and Damien Sirenen offloads to Ethan Ryan. Bradford keeping the ball alive. Will go towards the northern stand Terrace side. Kevin Penny rattles James Bentley and picks him off with some ease. It's James Bentley. I don't think he really expected that. A little bit of afters there, but James Bentley not happy with the tackle. Play continues on the 5th and last then. Bradford just inside the Rochdale 10-metre line, and James Bentley will make up for that now by touching the ball down for Bradford's first try of the afternoon. So what a fantastic opening period of the game we've had, and all things good for Bradford.
Yeah, a fantastic start for Bradford there, and making the yards and keeping composed. Simple ball through hands, and it's paid off in the end there. Rochdale have gone in with a few, I would say, high tackles, and now we saw that over there, a little bit of an hustle and bustle. It'd be nice for them to keep that low, or for it to be called up, but Bradford have kept their composure, they haven't fought back, and they've gone through and put the ball down over the line.
So 7 minutes on the clock then, and the St Helens bound James Bentley crosses for what will be, that's his 3rd try he scored against Rochdale this season. So obviously he's keen to go out on a high. Bradford lead on the Providence scoreboard 4-0 against Rochdale. We've had 7 minutes played, and we await now for Corey Aston to see if he can open his account today. Usually, again, pretty reliable kicker, but he has cost me my house a few times this season. So I'm not gonna. Well, there's a post in my way, so I can kind of like look the other way and wait till he kicks it. He composes himself. He'll draw his breath in, as he always does. He'll look at the sticks and draw that imaginary line. Takes a step back to the side and strikes that well. And that one, unfortunately, just drifts wide of the right-hand upright. So, unfortunately, Corey Aston doesn't open his account, but the Bradford Bulls lead here at the Providence Stadium 4-0 after 8 minutes on this one. Danica, Bradford will get the ball back. Now, do we think they'll be able to retain it on this set?
Yeah, well, let's hope so. This completion of sets we've talked about many times this season is really crucial today for a successful game. So, safe ball in hand, play the simple game, get up the pitch. That's my advice anyway.
That's what it's all about, ball retention and ball safety. The ball will bounce and eventually goes in a touch. Now, the referee is going to give the feed to Rochdale. So Rochdale kicked deep, and unfortunately, I think it was Ethan Ryan that failed to gather that, and it did eventually just fall and go into touch.
Yeah, I think it bounced when he got his hand on it and then went forwards. I don't know if he's called for the knock-on or not, but yeah, maybe I spoke too soon.
Anyway, Rochdale quickly then feed the scrum, and they will look now to get towards the Bradford Bulls 10-metre line through Josh Crawley. Josh Crawley then plays the ball, and that will eventually see the imposing figure eventually held up of Rochdale of well, I'm laughing, Gavin Bennion then using his guiling experience to get Rochdale a penalty. So it looks like the spoiling tactics of Rochdale are to the fore already, and now Rochdale come up with an error and knock on, so that will go in Bradford's favour. But like we said, it looks like the spoiling tactics of Rochdale are to the fore already, Danica.
Yeah, indeed, and it's a bit of a tight little battle there on the pitch, but it's kind of what you want to see. You want to see the big men running forward, making it hard work, and drawing in that defence as well. So, he's doing his job really, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Anyway, Bradford then will get the play back underway through Ilias McCarney, and he will take his team around about 15 metres away from their own try line. Still plenty of hands in there. They're very handy sweet letting it play on. Scotty Moore finds a little chink from the gap, finds Ilias McCarney. Ilias McCarney steps through the gap to his left-hand side and takes another drive and gets Bradford on the front foot as Bradford move towards their own 40-metre line through Joe Keys. Joe Keys with a swivel of the hip finds Corey Aston. Corey Aston running at the gap, feeds James Bentley. James Bentley on to Vila Halafihi, and Vila Halafihi is wrapped up over on the northern terrace side. The ball will come back this way then, as we will see Joe Keys eventually wrapped up just shy of the 20-metre line. Bradford putting the ball through hands. Evan Hodgson finds Vila Halafihi, and Vila Halafihi scores for Bradford Bulls. A fantastic team try that saw the play switch from the northern stand terrace side to the main stand terrace side. I'm looking at Vila's family, they're enjoying that one. What a great try.
Oh, fantastic, Bradford. This is the type of stuff we want to see from the game. Getting the ball up the pitch, moving the ball through the hands really quickly. We got a quick play of the ball there where I saw 3 or 4 of the Rochdale players offside and out of the game for that moment. Using that, getting up the pitch, thinking about it, quick chat, on over we go. Fantastic, Bradford. Let's just keep this up.
Well, the score on the Providence scoreboard after 10 minutes reads the Bradford Bulls 8, Rochdale Hornets 0. We await for Corey Aston to kick this one. This one should be a slightly easier kick for Corey to hopefully open his account this afternoon. As we wait for him to compose himself, we see the Bradford Bulls gather and have a bit of a team meeting before going back to get ready for the kick return from Rochdale. Corey Aston then composes himself, takes his sideward step to the left as he does, draws his imaginary line, composes himself again, looking at the sticks, clearing his mind, runs, strikes the ball well. That one sails through the post, and that opens Corey Aston's account for the day to push the Bradford Bulls now 10 points to 0 against the Rochdale Hornets. And Bully rings out around the crowd, and hopefully now Bradford should be able to kick on from this and build on the early pressure. I'll give you a quick score as we wait for Rochdale to get this back underway. It is Warrington Wolves 12, Featherstone Rovers 0. As the ball goes deep then from Rochdale, and that is taken by Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan manages to slip the tackle, but he's eventually brought down on his own 30-metre line, as now the big imposing figure of the ever-popular Amari Caro takes the ball and gets Bradford towards the halfway line on the second tackle. Scotty Moore finds James Bentley over on the northern stand terrace side, and again some rough tackling comes in from Kevin Penny. Now the referee has stopped the clock because I think we've got a Rochdale player down in back play. But I was hoping he was going to go and have a word with Tiara and Kevin Penny there, because each time that James Bentley has had the ball, those two have certainly targeted him, Danica.
Yeah, without a doubt. We've got that arm there that could be maybe around the shoulders, maybe slipped up a little bit higher for me, squeezing tight. You can see that they're putting the pressure on him, and it's just James has got to take that as a kind of, it's a confidence boost, because people are targeting him, want to stop him, and trying to kind of, scare tactics maybe, I don't know. But James needs to take that as a confidence boost.
Well, we saw it earlier on this season where the game at Rochdale, where the first half lasted just over an hour, and that was due to Rochdale taking every opportunity to waste as much time as they could, and it was one of the longest games that's been played of rugby league. Fortunately then for Rochdale, we see it is the forward Gavin Benyon that looks to be departing the field and being replaced as we wait for his replacement to come on. Sorry, it's Lee Mitchell that's gone off, and Gavin Benyon that's come on. Sorry, I get that wrong, so I do apologise. Anyway, Bradford then will start the play and get over the halfway line. Before being held up again, Liam Kirk. Scott Moore finds Corey Aston. Corey Aston finds Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan drops the shoulder steps to his right hand side on the fifth and last tackle as Bradford's play the ball on the Rochdale 40-metre line. And the ball is kicked deep then, and that will be collected by Chris Riley, and he will return that one back towards the Bradford Bulls defensive line. Rochdale then through Hooker. Lewis Foster will look to come forward and try and build some momentum as a big imposing figure there of Josh Crowley gets Rochdale further up the field. And now we see this getting tasty, and it's been coming, and I think that's no more than what Tiara deserves there after the cheap shots that's been placed on Ethan Ryan. But Rochdale then split the play and managed to get inside the Bradford Bulls half here as they quickly move the ball through hands. They're now up to the Bradford Bulls 20-metre. The ball comes loose, and referee Andy Sweet will say that that's a knock-on, but that looked dangerous from Rochdale there, Danica. Yeah,
same again. They just did what Bradford did, and they pushed through, used quick hands, fast play the ball, and moved their way down the pitch, kind of breaking the Bradford defence there. Luckily for Bradford, we've had that little spillage of the ball, and we'll see us hopefully move our way back up our side.
So Evan Hodgson then will play the ball, and that will be fed to Damien Sirinen. Damien Sirinen is then absolutely clattered, and he certainly felt that one as Damien. He looks back at, well, is it Sunday? Is it Monday? I think that's the question that he's asking. But Scotty Moore's saying, "Come on, get up and play it."
Yeah, you've seen some huge hits already in this game. You know, like we're talking bone crunching hits here, and he definitely took one there. I'm not sure if that was around the jaw. So
yeah, well, loose forward Jordan Case, who was obviously Sirenan's opposite number today. He certainly was making that one count, wasn't he? And knowing Damien will just look, he'll shake his head, and he'll say, "Right, if that's how it's going to be, then you know, let's have it." Although, looking at this, they're going to take him off as a precaution because he did a few weeks ago, Danica, pick up a bit of an innocuous knock around the head, and they took him off just as a precautionary measure, but he was able to come back on. So a bit of a loss for Bradford.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got to be so careful with these head injuries, and the process we have now is fantastic. It's health and safety wise for the players, it's really great. But that definitely wasn't a nice hit in the slightest.
No, I don't like to see any player injured, but obviously he is going off, and I think it is safety-wise a good call. That will see Colton Roach on then for his final game of the season. Colton Roach, Huddersfield bound, of course. So he now takes the ball for Bradford and gets Bradford up to their own 40-metre line on the third drive of this set of 6. Bradford deciding to run it towards the Northern Terrace side as Corey Aston is eventually wrapped up, and Bradford will again go towards the Northern Terrace side there, and that will see Ross Oakes eventually wrapped up. Now this is on here at Bradford, and we're seeing the players come together. It's been coming, the touch judges are on, and this has just descended into the brawl that we spoke about. It was probably on the cards, and we said that this game could go either way in our preamble, Danica, and we're certainly seeing it now, aren't we?
Yeah,
and,
absolutely.
Yes, we all love a bit of biff on a Sunday, but I think that Rochdale deserved that. And
yeah, that just comes from some cheap shots. It's totally unnecessary in the game. You know, look, we're getting the ball up the pitch. We're outwitting them somewhat, and just can't handle it. And you know what? Yeah, it's a bit of entertainment, I guess, for some people. It's just they've had it coming. It's just unnecessary. You know, it's the second or third time that they've tackled him off the ball after a kick there. It's great for people. You know, people like the entertainment. As a player, it's just infuriating. It's just unnecessary. And you know, in Bradford's defence there, if that's one of my teammates that had seen that happen to several times, you'd have a word and you'd say something.
I've got to agree, they've certainly targeted Corey Aston on his kick sets, haven't they? And they've certainly gone at him. And I think, like we said, you know, in the preamble, Rochdale will, and their coach has made no bones about it. You know, he'll have instructed his players to go out and rough the young lads of Bradford up, and that's obviously what we've seen in the opening stages of this game. But fair play to Bradford, you know, they've stood up for one another and they've stood up and be counted. I'm not advocating that you know, that it's all that it's as it should be. As we see a player march to the sin bin for Rochdale. I can't make his number out. Is that number 19 Jordan Case, the loose forward? I think it is. That's going to the sin bin for Rochdale. Now the referee is still talking to Scott Moore, and he's also sin-binned Scott Moore for obviously coming in then. And I'm a bit bewildered by that, because if anybody, I thought he'd have gone for James Bentley, but he hasn't. Now he has sent a second Rochdale player. There's still time for him to send another Bradford player off, so I'll be quiet on that one. I don't want to wish. Yeah,
there's Rochdale don't look too happy there, do they? Arguing the cards there.
No.
You know, at the end of the day, that it's not nice. It shouldn't have happened, and the tackle wasn't great. And ultimately, these cards come off the back of who's throwing the first punch, doesn't it? So
that's it. Well, we have seen Javisi Tiara then sent to the sin bin, and we've also seen Jordan Case sent to the sin bin for Rochdale. The referee Andy Sweet has put that on report. Bradford have had Scotty Moore sent to the sin bin, so the penalty goes to Bradford. The referee has marked both teams down to the Rochdale 20-metre line, and Bradford will get the restart on this one. So Joe Keys then taps the ball. Joe Keys will play the ball to Carlton Roach. Carlton Roach will take the first drive of this set of 6. What can Bradford do? John Magrin finds Liam Kirk. Liam Kirk spots the gap and gets halfway through the gap before being wrapped up by Rochdale on the 10-metre line. Corey Aston finds Ethan Ryan. The touch judge puts his flag in the air as Kevin Penny comes in and absolutely clatters again Ethan Ryan around the jaw, and this one is bubbling, and I can see here that the referee Andy Sweet taking further action.
Yeah, luckily the touch judge saw that straight away when his flag went straight up. You know, we're setting the platform of this game. This is how it's going to go now. Rochdale are fired up, and they don't look like they're going to go out, in good form, to be honest with you. Bradford, unfortunately, he doesn't look like he's come off very well from that. It was high. It was a bit of a clothesline, to be honest, wasn't it, that one? Let's just hope, Bradford can just play their own game. Don't rise to it, and keep composed and play out this, what is going to be a particularly scrappy game now.
Well, it certainly is going to be a bit of, well, we know what the tactics of Rochdale are going to be, let's face it, that they are just wanting to spoil and certainly rattle Bradford at every opportunity. Bradford with a one-man advantage. You're listening to the Big Match live on BCB as Bradford will get the play back underway through Vila Halafihi. He will feed the ball to John Magrin. John Magrin runs the ball to the centre of the sticks. We've had 22 minutes on the clock played here at the Providence Stadium Hotel as the ball goes out now to Amari Caro. Amari Caro cuts one way, and Amari Caro will go over the line and eventually be held up on his back. He'd only to fall over there, Danica. He'd only fall forward, and that would have another 4 points to Bradford. But the Rochdale team muscling up in defence, and the play will come back, and Amari Caro will restart on the 10-metre line. He'll quickly play that to James Bentley. James Bentley to Liam Kirk. Liam Kirk sells a dummy and sails in for a fantastic, well-deserved try to end it, well, for his season, to add to his tally, and no more than rightly deserved for Kirky.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one, They tried to look for the gaps there at the first play, and maybe they weren't on, like you said. Should just need to follow the line, but there we found Liam as quick dummy. He's moved to defence, he's seen the gap, and he's flown over himself. So great work there by Bradford. In the start of this game, Bradford have been doing that a lot. They looked more composed, they looked the better side, they're not rising to the bait. Just play this out, guys, just play this out, and it's going to go their way.
So you're listening to the Big Match live then on BCB 106.6 FM, the home of live sport in Bradford, brought to you in association with Provident. The score on the Provident scoreboard now reads Bradford Bulls 14, Rochdale Hornets 0, with the kick to come from Corey Aston. So don't forget, Sam Alice now comes on to the park. Rochdale having 2 players already in the sin bin in the first half, Jordan Case and Jovisi Tahara, and then also that was backed up by Scott Moore being sent to the sin bin. So Rochdale have a one-man advantage as we wait for Corey Aston to compose himself again and take this one. Danica, do we think that Bradford can fully exploit this one-man advantage?
Yeah, well, it looked like they're doing so at the minute, and they just need to keep on playing this out. When there's the time on the cards is up, they're going to come back with more fire in the belly, and it's going to be about then who's going to keep the penalty count down and who's going to play out the game.
Well, Corey Aston kicks that one, so Bradford now lead on the Providence scoreboard. The score reads Bradford Bulls 16, Rochdale Hornets 0, and we will await for Rochdale to get the game back underway as we've had 24 minutes played in this one. And Sam Ellis comes on for Liam Kirk, as we said, so that should have a little bit more go forward and certainly a bit of steel in defence for Bradford. Rochdale go for the short kick-off. That falls to the hands of Kevin Penny. James Bentley manages to pick it up, and James Bentley will go down the tram line of the northern stand terrace side before being wrapped up on the Rochdale 30-metre line as Bradford put the ball through hands on the second tackle, and that will see Corey Aston fought the gap. Corey Aston, it's a foot race, throws the ball back inside, unfortunately threw that behind Vila Halafihi, but fortunately for Bradford, even Heaven Hodgson was there to pick that one up. Bradford then in the ascendancy as Carlton Roach will run towards the post and manage to get Bradford just inside now the 10 metres of Rochdale. Joe Keys. Joe Keys goes to the left-hand side as we see a little bit of a hit and spin from Bradford on that one, on the 4th tackle then, as Bradford are eventually brought down, and I think that's Sam Alice. And Andy Sweet pulls out another yellow card. So now we said in the preamble he's not afraid to show a few cards.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Up to today, I think he'd shown 5, but
well, I don't know if he's got some kind of tally he's got to get by the end of the season or something, but it's becoming a bit of a pantomime now. I'm not quite sure what that was for. I mean, it looked like the ball was ripped, granted, but obviously something went down underneath there. Maybe he's just trying to pull him out as a bit of a warning now.
Well, that was Sam Alice that got the penalty for Bradford. I'm not too sure who the player was, as we see Bradford score, and this is all good for Bradford.
It looks like Rochdale have already lost their heads a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they were bouncing off the tackles, whether they're committing themselves too much or they're trying to hold back a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, they're playing a bit of a safer game, but Rochdale, you know, body language says a lot about a team, and that body language over there is not great.
26 minutes gone on the Provident clock then, and Bradford now lead 20 points to 0.
It's another try on the Bradford Bulls, sponsored by the Bradford Bulls supporters group. Give it up for number 29, Sam Alice.
So Sam Alice then is accredited with that try. Another sneaky, crafty hooker's try, as he likes to score. And again, a try that come on the back of some ill discipline from Rochdale. And I dare say that Alan Kilshaw will be spitting feathers as the Rochdale coach, having 3 of his players now in the sin bin.
Yeah, you do not want to be in that changing room at half-time, do you?
No.
Bradford's tries have come from just exploiting the gaps in the defence. Rochdale, obviously, we're playing with a 3-man advantage now, and Bradford are making the most of that. They're just falling for the Bradford dummies, and Bradford are getting over the line by very simple rugby, like we said at the start of the game. So all credit to Bradford now.
Corey Aston strikes this one then, and he will add to his tally. Fantastic kick from Corey to push the Bradford Bulls out to 22 points to 0 on the Providence scoreboard. And it's been a great opening 26 minutes, despite the bit of biff and the bit of boff that we've had from Rochdale.
Yeah, it feels a lot longer than 26 minutes with all that's been going on.
It certainly does.
Dramatic to say the least, hey?
It certainly does. Well, it's an exciting one. We're not going to take our eyes off this one then, as we await for Daniel Yates to put the ball down and get us back underway here at the Providence Stadium, Hodsall. And the scrum half will kick that one. He changes his tactics this time, decides to kick that a little bit deeper. That will go into the hands of Ilias McCanny. Ilias McCanny feeds Colton Roach. Colton Roach feeds Joe Keys, and Joe Keys dances away from the initial tackle. Still going is Joe Keys, and eventually he's brought down on the first tackle on his own 20-metre line. So Bradford then, through Sam Alice, will go down that Northern Stand Terrace side again, which have obviously seen something on that Northern Stand Terrace side that they feel may be a bit of a weakness to exploit, as we now see the imposing frame of Colton Roach managed to get Bradford over their own 40-metre line on the 3rd tackle. The ball quickly goes through hands. Ethan Etchen steps one way before passing the ball to Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan now will use his pace. Oh, unbelievable! Lewis Galbraith with an absolute left up there that was a rate buildinger, and the referee and the touch should do nothing. On the 5th and last tackle then, Evan Hodgson plays that one. The ball quickly goes to Joe Keys. Joe Keys will pick a kick out of the sky. That will bounce. It goes forward to Amari Caro. Amari Caro lets the ball bounce, and that will see Sam Alice, score another try.
Well, that was a lucky little bout of play there from Bradford there, and yeah, you see this high tackle.
The bounce,
yes,
yeah.
And then it came off the boot on the 5th tackle, and luckily managed to get the hand to it, push it backwards, and look, simple rugby, played really, really well.
Well, that's what we said. That's what we said at the start of the game, that is all it needed to do the basics right and just flow with the game.
Consistency. We were talking about it last week, and we're seeing it this week. Despite, the drama and the pantomime that's going on, Bradford are just keeping their composure and getting the ball down the field by the really simple basics, and it's paying off for them no end.
Well, I stand corrected on that one. The try's actually been awarded to Ross Oakes. I do apologise because it happened so quick from where we were, and we couldn't see who'd actually put the ball down. But after 30 minutes on the Provident clock, Ross Oakes then scores a try to push Bradford Bulls out to 26 points to 0 over the Rochdale Hornets as we wait for Corey Aston to take this one. And it is all going in Bradford Bulls' favour so far. And it has been very clever, very basic play that we said in our preamble. Myself and Danica said, that is how the Bradford Bulls today will be able to capitalise and pick up and go out on a season high and send the fans home happy. As Corey Aston sends that one through the sticks.
Bradford are playing at home. They look like they've got a bit more fire in the belly. They look like they've come out with a real aim to win this, and they look the better side, not only in what they're playing, but also just in their body language, their attitude, their communication, their organisation. They look like a really consistent side, and it's just a shame we haven't seen this more often throughout the season.
Well, Corey Aston then kicks his 4th goal of the afternoon to push the score on the Providence scoreboard to Bradford Bulls 28, the visitors Rochdale Hornets 0. And again, we'll see Daniel Yates take a kick. It goes for a shorter kick this time, but Evan Hodgson's up to that one, and he's eventually brought down just shy of his own 30-metre line through Chris Riley and Lewis Galbraith. And again, Lewis Galbraith with another swinging arm there that just narrowly misses Ilias Makani's jaw line. But again, although Rochdale have got 3 men in the cement, they're still wanting to rough it up, and Sam Alice is having none of it, and Bradford get the penalty, which is rightly deserved, because again we see interference at the play of the ball from Daniel Yates and Lewis Galbraith, and this man Galbraith again certainly wanting to mix it up today, Danica.
Yeah, it's I hate to speak ill of players and things like that, but he just looks like he's never tackled before. It's scrappy, he's going in with the arms, he's going up high, all the basics you get taught in at grassroots level about getting your shoulder and getting in front of a player. Doesn't seem to be doing any of that, and just is hoping for the best from the grabby high tackles.
Bradford restart from the penalty then, and that sees Mikkel Alaleski on the park, and he will take a good drive towards the Rochdale Hornets 10-metre line. Eventually he's brought down. The Bradford get up and play the ball, put the ball through hands. Eventually that finds its way to Amari Caro on the second tackle, and Scotty Moore is now back on the park, and he will take a little bit of a diving run and try to get Bradford towards the Rochdale try line. The ball quickly goes through hands then, and Colton Roach is eventually brought down centre field on the 3rd tackle. What can Bradford do here? Options either side of the ruck. Corey Aston is eventually found. Vila Halafihi finds the ball. Vila Halafihi goes across the park and feeds the ball on the 5th and last tackle then to Joe Keys. Joe Keys is brought down. Bradford dropped the ball, and now the referee has called a knock on, and he's given the scrum feed to to Bradford. I'm laughing because I didn't see a Rochdale hand in there.
No, I think that's really unfortunate for Rochdale, that is, and it's definitely came off a Bradford hand for sure.
Yeah, I know we sat a good distance back here from our commentary position from the pitch, but again, like I say, I couldn't see anything wrong with that, and I just thought I think Rochdale a little bit unlucky there.
Yeah, I don't think he was positioned in the best place, was he, to see that, and I've just seen the ball go forward on Rochdale's part, but I think it came off a Bradford hand.
So Scott Moore puts into the scrum, the ball comes out, he finds Joe Keys. Joe Keys then finds Sam Alice, and Sam Alice is brought down on the Rochdale 10-metre line. He gets up and plays the ball, and that's a fantastic barnstorming run from Mikkel Alaleski. That gets Bradford right in front of the sticks. What can Bradford do here then? As Corey Aston spins one way, spins then back to his left-hand side. He manages to offload to Vila Halafihi. Vila Halafihi gets the ball to Ethan Ryan, and Ethan Ryan sneaks in for a sneaky little try that is no more than deserved for the Bradford Bulls.
Yeah, another try coming from breaking that defence, making Rochdale move and with a quick dummy, and then exploiting the gaps and going over the line. Bradford doing that really well today. They're not massively pretty or experienced kind of moves and plays that they're doing. It's just simple basics and breaking that defence for Rochdale.
Well, Ethan Ryan then scoring on what's rumoured to be his last game for the season for Bradford. It's rumoured that he's off to Lee next season, so again that's probably Hopefully, I know Ethan Ryan's been a scorer of some spectacular tries here in his time at Bradford. So it's to be hoped that he continues that when he does, if he does move across to League and in Super League eventually. Yeah,
it's got to be difficult for the players from where your ties are and where the game's going. Just unfortunate for Bradford that the crucial players like Ethan are moving on, but understandably so.
So far then, in the opening 35 minutes of this one, Bradford have scored 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 tries, and Corey Aston has kicked 4 of them so far. Can Corey Aston make it a 5th conversion of the afternoon? Composes himself, draws the imaginary line as he's done so many times previously this afternoon, takes his step back, strikes that one, and that sails straight through the uprights to give Bradford Bulls now a commanding 34 points to 0 lead in this opening first half here at the Providence Stadium. Also, the Bradford Bulls 34, the Rochdale Hornets 0. Danica, is there a chance now that Bradford become a little bit complacent?
Yeah, there's always that. At half-time they're going to have to gather themselves and just make sure that they come out. What we always say is, 0-0, game starts again at half-time.
So, we see Bradford then collect the ball deep, and Mikel Alaleski manages to get Bradford on the front foot before being brought down 15 metres away from the Bradford Bulls try line. He will get up and play the ball. Ellis McCartney will then have another little scoop. He manages to get forward, but comes up with an error that, again, now, we've seen this so many times, and this is a complacency that we've been talking about, where Bradford have been in a commanding position. Let's look at it. They've scored nearly a point a minute so far in this first half, and they then come up with an error just deep inside their own half that will give now Rochdale a bit of an incentive, I feel, to try and get something from this game.
Yeah, Rochdale have got nothing to lose now, have they? They might as well go all out and see what's happening. And that's what they've just done there. And Bradford making the error and trying to blame it on the Rochdale pulling the ball. It's just unfortunate. It's unnecessary, hold the ball and complete.
So Rochdale then now sits centre field. And again, the imposing... Well, Rochdale now will ghost in for a try. And this is what we were just saying, Danica, that, it's been coming. And I think that Bradford were at fault there. They were... They created if you like, they created that try for Rochdale.
Yeah, absolutely, and it kind of makes you wonder if Bradford have got this far up the scoreboard purely because they had such a big overlap in men on the field, and now it's kind of come back to even draws. I think Rochdale are still one down, aren't they? And
yeah,
and we're not able to exploit that anymore. And like you say, complacency and silly errors, and they've scored. He's going to half time and just reevaluate how they've made the scores they have, and hopefully come out and fiery again. That's what we need. We need the fire again.
Yep, they need that little bit of hunger back in the belly, as we see Lewis Palfrey then. Sorry, Daniel Yates kicked that one. So the score on the Providence scoreboard now reads: the Bradford Bulls 34, Rochdale 6. Now, do you think that Tuve will be happy that they've let that 6 points in?
You always get when you get the points on the board, you always kind of want to go for that, the nil, and it was just, maybe he can use that now as a kind of, he's got something to say to them in the changing rooms. Gather yourself, don't get complacent, sort it out, keep the basics, and do them well.
So Bradford then, through Corey Aston, will kick deep towards the Rochdale team, and Rochdale get a penalty then for... as I said, they were offside, Bradford.
I'm not quite sure what it's called there.
Yeah, I think he's awarded another penalty there to Rochdale then for Bradford being offside. That will hand possession to Rochdale, and they will reach the halfway line with the kick and quickly play that one then. So the ball goes through hands, through Yates. Yates will then look to find...
I would have pulled that for crossing.
Yeah, Matthew Haddon. And again, the referee lets that go unpunished, as now returning back to the field is Tiara, and he will look to get Rochdale on the front foot. Rochdale then with Lewis Palfrey put the ball through hands, and Kevin Penny manages to collect that one before racing away and getting Rochdale back over the Bradford Bulls 10-metre line. The referee signals back to one for a hand in there. So Rochdale with another set of 6 then to go at the Bradford line, and they'll do so through Matthew Haddon. Matthew Haddon's eventually brought down, but Rochdale still keeping the ball alive to Yates. And then, I'm laughing because we saw then Lewis Galbraith throw the ball to Chris Riley. And Chris Riley, for all his years' experience in Super League, he just let that one go into touch.
Yeah, he kind of set up a bit too soon there, hadn't he? And was ahead of the ball himself there, which has bounced out. And lucky for Bradford indeed.
It certainly is. It certainly is lucky for Bradford that one happened. Anyway, Bradford will get the put in at the scrum. He's given the scrum feed to Rochdale there. So
no idea what that call's been for then.
Well, I'm totally confused here because we saw the ball go into touch as Chris Riley left it behind. Anyway, Rochdale continue and will look to add to their further points of 6 as the clock ticks down here at the Providence Stadium also. And another forward pass that the referee Andy Sweet lets go unpunished, but Rochdale here looking to do something as Daniel Yates switches the play from the left to the right, and the ball is eventually picked up by James Bentley. James Bentley manages then to get the ball to Ross Oakes. Ross Oakes finds Amari Caro. Amari Caro goes one way before coming back into the centre of the field. He offloads in the tackle. That's collected by Rochdale, and Bradford get the penalty.
Yeah, tried to play advantage there, moved up the pitch, and it was a great start. Could have held on to the ball and could have put us in a really great position on the 50s there, which could have set up play either way, but decided to offload, and luckily we're going back for the initial penalty.
So the referee's going to bring the play back all the way back to around about 12 metres away from the Bradford Bulls try line, as the clock here at Odsal Stadium shows that we've got 6 minutes left of this half. So again, another long half, Danica. That, like we said, that the games between these two have tended to be. I'll give you a quick couple of score updates. It's Wigan Warriors 0, Cass Tigers 14, Featherstone Rovers 0, Warrington Wolves 30. So Bradford get the play back underway. Scott Moore to Corey Aston. Corey Aston on to Evan Hodgson, and again we see Tierra come in, and he's already spent one spell in the sin bin, but again that doesn't seem to have affected him because he's absolutely clattered Evan Hodgson around the chops then. But the referee Andy Sweet letting that one go as Rochdale struggling to get back on side. Scott Moore then plays the ball to Ross Peltier. Ross Peltier bounced one off, and Ross Peltier makes a good 15 yards then up the park. And again, now then, we've got a bit of pushing and shoving. The referee tells Tierra to get away, gives a penalty to Bradford. Scotty Moore goes in and pulls Sam Alice away as Ross Peltier just shakes his head as if to say, well, if that's all you've got, son, stay at home. As we see now, Corey Aston kick deep. The kick will find touch and give Bradford the restart 25 metres away from the Rochdale Hornets try line. Can Bradford finish this half with another flourish of points as Evan Hodgson then takes the ball from Vila Alafifi. Evan Hodgson goes, he now sits around about 18 metres away from the Rochdale try line as Mikael Alaleski will go on one of those big barnstorming runs towards the centre of the sticks, and he will get Bradford now to 5 metres shy on the second tackle. Scott Moore finds Corey Aston. Corey Aston drops the ball, drops his shoulder to the left, then spins to the right, finds the gap, and now then the referee's going to stop the clock here and go to speak to his touch judge. Corey Aston is obviously over there. I don't think it's a double movement. He's got to give the try because the touch judge's not saying anything different. Oh, well, the touch judge has overruled the referee.
I think the cameraman at the end over there is trying to offer him his pictures up. He's not happy either, is he?
The referee says, says that Corey Aston then was held just short of the line. So Bradford was still in possession. Evan Hodgson straightens up and he's wrapped up on the fifth and last tackle then. Rochdale struggling to get back to their own 10-metre line as Scotty Moore moves quickly from the ruck area. That finds Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan chips through for Amari Cairo to touchdown. And Andy Sweet's got to get that one, just what the doctor ordered then. Yeah,
that was a beautiful little kick through there to find the gap and to run onto the ball and just put it down. All he needed was his fingertips there, didn't he?
He certainly did. He certainly did. And the big, big imposing figure and frame of Amari Caro.
I think there's a well-deserved try there by Bradford. You know, some unfortunate decisions in the last 5 minutes that haven't gone quite their way that maybe they should have. And but they've done what they can do, and they've proved it by putting the points on the board rather than fighting back. So, well done, Bradford, this half.
Well, both teams back up to the full complement now, Danica. And again, Rochdale still with the spoiling tactics. You know, I'm surprised that that referee Andy Sweet hasn't put, you know, this team on a team warning and certainly called the captains out and said, look, you know, you've already seen players in the sin bin. You know, you've come back on, certainly to the likes of Tiara, and he's just wanting to mix it at every opportunity. Now, is that because he's not a great rugby player?
Well, yeah, you don't know, do you? Is there some kind of other hidden agenda? Is it that he's not doing so well? Is it that he's just lost his head? And, you know, it's really difficult when you lose your head on the game, you know, the pitch, to get it back again. And, you know, no, I don't like to make judgment on his skill and ability, but he's definitely playing, you know, less than average for sure.
Well, Corey Aston then adds to his goal tally today, and that sees the score on the Providence scoreboard now read Bradford Bulls 40, the Rochdale Hornets 6. Now, I can't remember a bigger score this season. That's got to be the biggest score of a half this season so far.
Yeah, without a doubt, and let's just hope we can keep hold of it.
Yeah, Ross Oakes then takes that one and cuts back in field before Scotty Moore picks the ball up and goes down the far northern terrace side again, where Bradford obviously feel there is some yards to be made. Amari Carroll cuts in field, and Amari Carroll is eventually brought down 45 metres, but he loses the ball, but the referee says that's ripped out and gives another penalty to Bradford. So I make that the 6th penalty of Bradford's afternoon, as Joe Keys plays the ball quickly, races fully 50 metres, touches down, has the crowd on their feet. Fantastic try, fantastic opportunist try, and what a fantastic score from Joe Keys.
Oh, brilliant, and that's what Bradford have done up well all afternoon. Quick play the ball, quick tap, they're not waiting around, they look like a refreshed team, you know, looks like it could be the start of the season in fact. You know, they just look full of energy, full of fight, full of speed, and they're really utilising you know, what Rochdale's body language, and they look tired and they look, you know, like it is in the season. So two completely different sides in their appearance, and they've completely utilised that, and well done.
Well, it is his birthday today, so that's a nice birthday present for Joe Keys. And so far, Bradford has managed to score more than a point a minute in this first half, as they currently lead the Rochdale Hornets 44 points to 6. We wait for Corey Aston to take the kick, and I think we're waiting for a ball for Corey Aston. And Bradford absolutely dominating the first half. I can't remember a first half this year where they've scored more points in the first half than what they've scored today. And that has got to be something that the fans will be going home and thinking, what if, what only?
What if, yeah, indeed. And it's a great thing, the what if, isn't it? But great crowd, the great support, and like we've talked about earlier, these Bulls fans have really given the drive and determination to push through and carry on. And you know, like I've just said, Bradford do look like a refreshed side. God knows what's happened in the last few days or whatever, but they look ready and raring to go, and it's great to see. And it's great, you know, the last game here, and giving the fans maybe something, who knows, but carrying it going, keep it going.
Corey Aston then, you can probably tell from the music in the background, Bully Bully, kicks that goal to push Bradford Bulls out now to 46 points to 6 against the Rochdale Hornets. And we're inside the final minute of the half, and that has seen Corey Aston kick will convert, as Rochdale now go for a shallow kick. That bounces off the chest of Ross Oakes and eventually finds its way into the hands of the Rochdale attackers. And Rochdale then with the ball in hand on the first tackle will be brought down on the Bradford Bulls 30 as they'll put the ball through hands. The Rochdale team is looking a little bit tired, but Bradford not helping themselves by giving Rochdale a penalty for being offside. Rochdale quickly pay the ball, and that sees a fantastic run from Jack Holmes that gets Rochdale deep, well, just over about 8 metres shy of the Bradford Bulls try line, although referee Andy Sweet brings the play back and awards a penalty on the Bradford Bulls 10 metre line. Lewis Foster will play that one. And that is no more than what's deserved. An absolute bell ringer as the hooter goes, and Thierry doesn't know where he is, but this is going to see Rochdale held up on her back as the fans in the main stand up and rightly applaud this performance from the Bradford Bulls.
And hopefully we'll see a few more points on the board, and less so from Rochdale today.
So, change of kicker, Lewis Foster will actually get us underway, and the ball will go into the hands of Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan will then feed Mikhail Aleski, and Mikhail Aleski manages to get Bradford 25 metres away on the first drive of this opening set of 6. James Bentley is then wrapped up in that tackle, and again it's all around the head. And again he's been pinned to the floor, and Rochdale not clearing the ruck, so Jack Holmes is penalised for pinning Ethan Ryan down as Bradford get a first penalty of this half, and that will get Bradford up towards, well, around about 45 metres shy now from the Rochdale try line. As Maricaro gets the ball, he's going to give that to Ross Oakes. Ross Oakes taps it, finds Sam Alice, and we play back underway here at the Provident Hodgson Stadium as Evan Hodgson is brought down just on the 40 metre line. Quickly gets up, Scott Moore exploits the gap, and he manages to offload to Mikhail Aleski. Mikhail Aleski takes a drive towards the Oldham try line then, and Bradford now just shy of the Oldham 20 as Joe Key steps to his left, spots the gap to his right, but as quickly as he spots it and steps into it, the Rochdale defence is there to close the gap. Scott Moore to Mikhail Aleski, Mikhail Aleski to Sam Alice, Sam Alice to Ross Peltier. Ross Peltier, like a wrecking ball, absolutely bounces 2 Rochdale defenders off there before being brought down 12 metres shy. Bradford quick to play the ball. Scott Moore to Evan Hodgson on the 5th and last tackle. What can Bradford do here? They'll quickly put the ball back through hands. The ball will eventually go to Joe Keys, and that's just a little bit beyond Joe Keys' reach, and he comes up with a knock on. So the relieving pressure goes to Rochdale, and Rochdale will restart with a tap. A good opening set, Danica, from Bradford.
Yeah, it has been as well, but what we've seen is Rochdale come back in their defence is a lot stronger. You know, they're numbering off really well, and you know, making some really strong tackles for the Bradford. They're not making as many yards this time, are they?
No. I think the Bradford Bulls now have got to certainly muscle up in defence and keep the Rochdale attackers, as we see another penalty awarded to Rochdale then for Bradford for an infringement at the play of the ball. That will see Danny Yates kick the ball deep into the Bradford half, and play will restart 45 metres then. And we now see that Rochdale aren't even away at the play of the ball. Danny Yates takes it one way, he then throws the ball back inside. It's eventually collected by Jake Eccleston.
After what looked like a little bit of a knock on that's been missed or ignored, I'm not sure.
Yep, it certainly did look like Andy Sweet let it go, but Bradford now muscling up in defence, eventually bring down Josh Crowley just shy of the Bradford Bulls 20 metre line. We then see a fantastic barnstorming run from Rochdale through Lee Mitchell before he's wrapped up just shy of the Bradford Bulls 10 metre line, and now Rochdale come up with a forward pass, and Jordan Case, the guilty man on that one, but that will see a scrum now form and head and feed get put to Bradford. Bradford just taking the time here, Danica, and just taking in a bit of air.
They've got no need to rush, have they, in this game now? There's absolutely no urgency as yet. Just keep their defence strong and keep moving the ball forward.
Joe Keys then feeds a scrum. The ball comes out through Scott Moore. Scott Moore then finds Mikhail Aleski as Mikhail Aleski takes the first drive of this half to get Bradford, try and get Bradford away from the sticks. As Ilias McCartney is then wrapped up over on the far northern terrace side. Villa Halafihi picks up the ball, comes back into the centre of the field on the third tackle, and he's eventually wrapped up 25 metres from his own try line. Joe Key sells the dummy and then steps off to the right. He also then sells another dummy before being picked off by the Rochdale defence. So Bradford on the fourth tackle through Scott Moore. Scott Moore will find Ross Peltier. Ross Peltier just managing to get Bradford up towards their own 40-metre line on the fifth and last, as now the ball will go Corey Aston. Corey Aston will take a run. He's then taken out after the kick. Andy Sweet sees that, but lets the play continue. Both touch judges waving play on as well, as Rochdale now will bring the ball back through Declan Kay, and Declan Kay, the Rochdale fullback, manages to get just shy, and he kicks out in the tackle there. And everybody's sort of like congratulating Declan Kay for getting the penalty. But we see a Bradford player take a boot then. And obviously James Bentley has gone over there. Sam Alice has gone to speak to the referee. The referee's just brushing them away. And it's a Bradford player that's down on the floor. I'm not too sure which one it is, Danica. I don't know if you can tell from...
No, unfortunately, got not much of an idea then. It was... I think it was Joe Keys that initially took the contact, but I don't know if it's him that's still down or not.
Well, it was a right boot, wasn't it? You know, and it wasn't a stray boot. That was done with intent. Yeah,
you know, you pulled so many times, you know, forgetting your legs, trying to fight the tackle. And it's great, you need to fight the floor, you need to get a quick play of the ball and stuff, but not, you know, they like to pull up for that now. You keep your feet on the ground, fight for it the best way you possibly can, but it looks like that's been straight to the head there, and unfortunately has not come off very well from it.
Well, I think it is Joe Keys that's down there, and I think it's Joe Keys that took the boot from Jake Eccleston.
Just hoping it's something too serious. He's been having a great game as Joe Keys, and not the best birthday present, is it?
No. He's got a great try. I mean, his try was fantastic, and he'll certainly relish that one. Well, you know, they don't look much of him, does there? You know, it looks as if he'd get blown over with a gust of wind, in all fairness. But he's a tough cookie, is Joe Keys. I like him, and I think the last sort of like 7 games of this Shield competition, he's really come on. Anyway, it gets back up, but Rochdale then awarded the penalty, and they'll get play back underway. And again, Bradford will muscle up in defence, and we see Sam Alice and Corey Aston, Sam Alice and James Bentley in there in the tackle to try and stem Rochdale's attack. And again, Rochdale looking to move the ball now. They've now switched the play to the northern terrace side, and again Rochdale, we see the spoiling tactics at the ruck, wanting to try and trick the referee, as again Rochdale will now look to add to their score. But Bradford's defence is standing tough on the fourth tackle. Rochdale managing to get to the Bradford Bulls 10-metre line. A little switch round there between Lewis Palfrey and Lee Mitchell. Sees Lee Mitchell wrapped up before the ball finds its way into the hands of Tiara, and Tiara is brought down on the fifth and last tackle, and that will see Bradford get the possession. So that attack from Rochdale not amounting to much in the end, as Ethan Ryan will play the ball, and Sam Alice will then get up, and he'll take Bradford, and he's still going, the player that was awarded the fans' favourite player of 2017 award earlier on Friday. And now Bradford with the ball in hand then, as Scotty Moore comes up with a knock on, as Elias McCanny was trying to play the ball, and I think Scotty Moore went a bit too early. And again, this is where we said now, this is what Bradford are in danger of when when they come up against it. They're in this danger of committing schoolboy errors.
Yeah, absolutely. We're trying on that quick play of the ball again and trying to get the ball out very quickly, and unfortunately, for Scott, that's just bounced off his fingertips. He's tried to pick up whilst on the run and exploit the gaps, but it's not paid off. You know, Rochdale had a good phase of play there, but it was all credit to the Bradford defence that they got nowhere with it. So, Bradford are looking strong. They're pulling off the basics well. We just need to slow the play down and, keep this score as it is. We're in no rush now. There's no urgency. We just need to play out this half as well we can.
Certainly do. The referee speaks to Joe Keys, and Joe Keys goes back to the line. I think he was just asking what the penalty was for and clarifying the situation, but he sent Joe Keys back into the line, and he's having none of it. Rochdale then restart. Rochdale remains centre field, and now that is justice really, because we see Gavin Benyon then go without the ball for Rochdale, and that will see a scrum formed. That is, I make that Rochdale's 6th error of the afternoon.
That's just panic play, isn't it? There's no communication there. There's no chat there from his lines and who's running the ball in. It's just kind of throwing it out there and hoping for the best.
So Bradford then will get the put in at the scrum, and the ball goes in. Eventually finds Scott Moore. Scott Moore feeds Ross Peltier, and Ross Peltier then is brought down in the tackle. There's a little bit of schmozzle goes on between Evan Hodgson. Now the referee's blowing his whistle here, and he's going to stop the clock. I think he's going to call out Evan Hodgson here and Scott Moore to have words, because, like I said, there's a little bit of afters after the tackle there. And referee Andy Sweet has got to keep a lid on this one, and he's certainly got to make sure that both teams just calm down. There's a bit of finger pointing going on. I know Joe Keys isn't happy about what happened to him with the stray boot, and he's still remonstrating with referee Andy Sweet over that. We've seen Evan Hodgson have a niggle at Yves Thierry, who's down on the floor. And again, the clock stopped here. So, a couple of quick score updates then as we've got them. It is Wigan Warriors 0, Cass Tigers 20, Featherstone Rovers 0, Warrington Wolves 44, Batley 20, Sheffield 10, the Bradford Bulls 46, Rochdale Hornets 6, and Oldham 16, the Dewsbury Rams 20. Result from last night, Toronto Wolfpack finished off their season with a 26 points to 14 victory over Doncaster. Barrow 14, Keighley 6, Workington 6, Whitehaven 28, and York City Knights 12, Newcastle 20. So we see Thierry get up, and he's been helped off the pitch, which I think is probably a good thing for him, the way that he's played this afternoon.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, I don't want to signal out a player, but he's dished it out all day, and when he's been clattered back, he's gone a little bit into hiding, I feel.
Yeah,
but,
some of his just desserts there, hasn't he?
Yeah. That's the word I was looking for, just desserts.
It's not nice to see a player injured in any way, shape or form, but you reap what you sow in this game, and
that's it.
That's what we've just seen.
So Bradford get the penalty. Joe Keys will kick. He will find the halfway line, and Bradford will restart through Ross Peltier. Ross Peltier gets Bradford then towards the 30-metre line of the Rochdale Hornets. The ball eventually finds its way to Sam Alice, and Sam Alice is brought down there around about 15 metres in from the northern terrace side, as Bradford will bring the ball. And Bradford losing ground now as Joe Keys is pushed back towards the Rochdale 40-metre line before being helped out by Scott Moore, who eventually stops that one. Scott Moore plays the ball. Scott Moore finds Mikkel Alaleski. Mikkel Alaleski does get the yardage back for Bradford, and the ball will continue to be played through Corey Aston. Corey Aston will feed Ross Peltier, and Ross Peltier has the ball ripped out, and I think he's old man the referee there as Ross.
Well, for us that we had a better view, he was sent towards our side, and it just looked like it bounced out of his arms, to be honest, but the ref has given it as as it's been pulled out of his hands.
That's Bradford's 8th penalty of the afternoon. So, again, Bradford then will look to go forward. And Bradford now, on the second drive of this set of 6 through Sam Alice, managed to get around about 5 metres away from the try line as Scott Moore puts the ball through hands. That finds eventually Ross Peltier, and Ross Peltier dumps that one down for another try. That's a try this week, a try last week, so he's in a rich vein of form, is Mr. Peltier. And again, I think it was just a matter of time before the Rochdale defence crumbled, Danica.
Yeah, it's a big unit, and Peltier running at them, he's just going to tire them out. He's drawing the defenders, and they're having to work really hard to get him to the ground, and he's still managing to get up and get a quick play of the ball. So that's a really deserved try from him, I think, there, for putting in that hard work. What was that, 3 carries in that set?
Yeah.
For a middle unit? You're asking a lot, but looks like it's paid off for Bradford.
certainly does.
And I think it's about time that Bradford kind of found the gaps in the Rochdale defence there. That, you know, Rochdale come on looking like a bit like a better side. You know, they're stronger in defence. They're giving more into, you know, more players having to pull into tackle, but it's not easy to break their defence as it was in the first half, and maybe we did really utilise the overlap in the men, and now we're having to work a little bit harder to break the line.
Well, Ross Peltier then scoring the try for Bradford to push the Bradford Bulls on the Providence scoreboard out to Bradford Bulls 50, Rochdale Hornets 6. As we wait for Corey Aston to take this one. That's the 9th try of the afternoon for Bradford. Can Corey Aston make this the 8th goal? Strikes that, and unfortunately he puts that one wide of the uprights. So the score on the Providence scoreboard reads Bradford Bulls 50, the Rochdale Hornets 6. It's been a fantastic performance from Bradford. We've got to say that, you know, in the second half and opening of this half, they've stood firm to the test, and the test was, you know, absorb the Rochdale pressure, absorb the nitty-gritty and the grubby rugby that Rochdale were going to play, and exploit the gaps, and that's exactly what they've done by playing what we said, this simplistic brand of rugby that works.
Yeah, absolutely. And let's just hope that we can keep control of this ball and just play out our sets.
So Bradford then will get the ball through Mikel Alaleski and come towards their own 20-metre line. Then John Magrin is picked up and dumped to the floor by the Rochdale Hornets defenders there. And again now we see another high tackle on Evan Hodgson, and Chris Riley is still wanting to mix it as the players come together again, and we see now Mikel Alaleski running in. He's then slowly followed by Jake Eccleston of Rochdale. And there's still some finger pointing going on, and Evan Hodgson had been awarded the penalty for the high shot, but referee Andy Sweet has got to sort this out. Now if I were Andy Sweet, I would be certainly looking now at pulling the Rochdale captain, as we see a Rochdale player with his shirt ripped off his back there. It's bubbling under. It is bubbling under.
Bit of deja vu this, isn't it? Similar time to the first half, you know, and comes again from a Rochdale high tackle, from a unnecessary little bit of physical contact there, and Bradford just reacts to it. It's natural, you're going to react to it, and it's just unnecessary from Rochdale to feel like they have to do that. You know, Rochdale need to prove themselves through the game rather than through their anger, I guess.
Well, Corey Aston then will kick and find touch. He will find touch on the 40-metre line of the Rochdale Hornets, and play will commence 5 metres in from the northern terrace side as Evan Hodgson will take this drive, and he'll get Bradford to the 30-metre line of the Rochdale Hornets on the first drive of this set of 6. Scott Moore finds Sam Alice, and Sam Alice manages to get his little frame moving forward, and he takes Bradford towards the 20-metre line. Scott Moore pinching some easy yards from around the ruck area before the ball goes through hand from Joe Keys. Joe Keys eventually finding Ethan Ryan, and Ethan Ryan is brought down around about 18 metres now away from the Rochdale try line. Third tackle then as Mikel Alaleski will straighten up, and he'll use his frame, and he manages to get Bradford just over the Rochdale 10-metre line, as now Scott Moore finds John Magrin. Scott Moore does a run around with John Magrin, eventually finds Corey Aston, and Evan Hodgson is taken out in back play, and I hope the referee's going to see that, but no, neither touch, well, his touch judge has come on the park, so the referee's going to see, and I think he should award Bradford a penalty here because Evan Hodgson was taken out.
Yeah, absolutely tackled off the ball there, you know. Rochdale again, knowing that he was going to break the line, knowing he was going to get his fingertips to that ball and put it down over the line, and they just had to stop him some way, shape or form, and unfortunately to tackle him off the ball was just unnecessary, but it's the only thing they've got left in their tank, isn't it?
Well, that to me is a professional foul, and that to me should see the Rochdale player who committed the offence walk towards a sin bin. I'm sure that it's Lewis Galbraith again, because Lewis Galbraith is in there chelping and pointing at Evan Hodgson. So Evan Hodgson, he celebrated his birthday by signing a 3-year deal on Thursday with Bradford. So happy birthday, Evan.
It's not a bad way to do it, eh?
No, certainly not. Bradford then will look to try and add to the 50 points that they already have on the scoreboard, and James Bentley is wrapped up and brought down on the The referee, Andy Sweet, stops the clock. As we see now, these are the tactics that we spoke about from Rochdale, where every opportunity on nearly every tackle, and we've seen this in the 2 games that have been played against Rochdale so far this season, where, you know, their players go down. Now, if it's a genuine injury, then yes, you know, no problem. But I think a lot of the time this is it's not sporting, is it? It's not gamesmanship.
No, it's very tactical, isn't it? We know. Funny enough, we had this conversation at England training yesterday, and the whole discussion about being hurt or injured and whether you need to take a knee or not. It's one of the most frustrating things we see sometimes in the women's game. Is people shout on, take a knee, you know, just to bide the time, and maybe they're not fit enough, maybe they just need to compose their heads a little bit more. But it does spoil the game, it spoils the flow, you know. And Bradford now are going to have to wait around and see what's happening. Is it a real injury? Well, we hope not. You know, and that, you know, in that side of things, you just unnecessary, isn't it? And you know, the game's going to carry on playing on, and Bradford are going to have the ball. Is this needed?
Well, not really. And again, it's another stoppage in play that it kind of takes the momentum away, doesn't it? You know, because it's now a stoppage in play. So you know, you see players out there obviously taking on water and taking in a bit of air, which is good because obviously you need to re-energise and you need to be, you know, fully charged before you go. But it stops that momentum that you'd already built up. You know, and Bradford had been building up a good head of steam there before we see.
But the thing is, do you need to carry that momentum? Should you not be fit enough to play 80 minutes?
Well,
is that not your job to do?
Well, it is, and fitness does come into it. But
yeah,
you know,
it
has been said quite a lot across the season
it's also
that
a very
Bradford
easy
haven't
way
looked
to get,
fit enough.
Yeah, but it's also an easy way for Rochdale to get some messages on the pitch as well, isn't it?
It is. Anyway, Bradford then through Mikel Alaleski. Mikel Alaleski will go straight towards the sticks. He is brought down 5 metres shy of the Rochdale's try line as Scott Moore will put the ball through hands, and Ethan Ryan will score. He dives in, not one of his spectacular tries, but adds to his tally this afternoon. And again, a fantastic, well-worked try after the inventiveness of Scotty Moore to find.
I just think that was a beautiful.
Yeah.
He just ran a beautiful line there. You know, you had your lead runner out the back there. Looked like it was going to him, and you just got like a little sinker option come through the middle, hit the line, straight to the gap, straight over the line. I think that was a really well-worked try there by Bradford.
Well spotted from Scotty Moore and Joe Keys. The link play was brilliant between hooker and scrum half, and obviously Ethan Ryan just picked his line right and you know, knew exactly where Joe Keys was going to go and managed to exploit the gap that had been created. So yeah, a fantastic team try. The referee now is speaking to Scott Moore, so I think he's saying to Scott Moore as captain, look, just tell your boys now to play rugby. There's nothing stupid. You know, they don't need to get into the arm wrestle that Rochdale obviously want them to get into. The score on the Providence scoreboard currently reads Bradford Bulls 54, the Rochdale Hornets 6, as Mikel Alaleski goes and leaves the park, leaves the field after his stint, and it's been a good stint for Mikel Alaleski as ever. And Liam Kirk returns back to play. Corey Aston will convert this one. So Bradford Bulls 56, the Rochdale Hornets 6 is a score on the Providence scoreboard, and the sun comes out at the right time here at Odsal, and it's not turning into a bad afternoon at all for the Bradford Bulls, Danica.
No, not at all. You know, and there you like to hope that try has come from a set play that they've put on and not just a fluke line. Something that we could have been seeing throughout the season a little bit more. But just a little bit more of that for the rest of the game. See it out, put on a few nice lines and get the points on the board.
Well, we see Rochdale restart and try and go again for the short kick-off, but James Bentley is certainly standing up to that one, and he's tackled. Ross Oakes plays the ball. Ross Oakes finds John Magrin, and Bradford now in the centre of the park will look to put the ball through hands. Finds Corey Aston. Corey Aston finds Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan sees a little bit of a gap, but eventually that's closed and is brought down for the second tackle on this set of 6. Liam Kirk then back on the park, and Liam Kirk will run forward the only way that he knows how and gets Bradford over the Rochdale 40-metre line. Scotty McMorrow pinches some yards from the ruck before Rochdale come up with a knock-on, and Amari Caro gets there to stop the advancing Rochdale player, but the referee's going to bring that back and he's going to give the putting at the scrum to Bradford.
That was really lucky there, you know.
Yep.
Scott Moore took the ball from the back of the ruck and had no support run. He had no option but to take it himself. You know, tried to get the pass on just before he hit the contact, and it was intercepted, but then not caught by Rochdale. You know, Scott Moore can only do what he's got in front of him, and Bradford maybe need to step up and offer themselves a little bit more as an option.
Well, the referee stopped the clock again for another injury to Rochdale, which is Lewis Foster that's gone down. Lewis Foster's got treatment, and play now continues as Amari Caro comes from the back of the scrum, and Amari Caro goes on a fantastic little run there that gets Bradford towards the Rochdale 20-metre line. Scott Moore to Sam Alice to Corey Aston. Corey Aston finds Ethan Ryan, and Ethan Ryan is picked off somewhat slightly easier than what has happened in the past today in this game, not managing to get away from the tackle. The tackle then the play continues, and then we see Sam Alice wrapped up on the third tackle. The ball goes through hands. James Bentley eventually finds Ross Oakes, and Ross Oakes is brought down on the Rochdale 10-metre line. So Bradford looking and trying to find a gap. Sam Alice then on the fifth and last gets Bradford to the centre of the park. Still a little bit of pushing and shoving. Scotty Moore picks that one up, and Scotty Moore goes for a scoot on the towards the line, and he's going to be held up just shy of the try line on the sixth tackle. And I think that was inventive play from Scott Moore, because there was nothing really on. There was nothing set up.
I'm not sure if it was inventive play. It was a bit more white line fever, because, you know, if he looked to his right, he had quite a few men outside him set up ready to rear and go. But I think he saw that line. He was under the sticks, wanted to put down himself, but the gap was on to his right hand side.
Is that what we would call glory hunting?
Yeah, indeed. He always finds.
He saw the glory, didn't he? He saw the glory, but unfortunately didn't manage to score on that occasion. So we now have another little stoppage in play as Ethan Ryan is down in back play, receiving some treatment. And the sun's out here at Odsal. Bradford are in the ascendancy, leading on the Providence scoreboard 56 points to 6 in what so far has been a 10-try rout and an 8 conversions from the 10 tries in this last fixture of 2017, last competitive fixture before Bradford will start next season in League One. Rochdale then will get the play back underway, and Bradford muzzling up in defence. Liam Kirk in there to help out help out John Magrin, and Rochdale on the third tackle advance towards their own 20-metre line, so not making the easy yards. So the Bradford defence has been tested, but it's been certainly up to the test, as Rochdale now managed to get to the 30-metre line, still inside their own half, and Rochdale not really going forward with any penetration. It always seems to be single runners on the fifth and last tackle. Then what can Rochdale do? The kick will come in, and the kick will find its way eventually down the field and collected by Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan feeds Ilias McCarney, and Ilias McCarney will look to get those legs of his going, but eventually he's brought down 25 metres away from his own try line. Then on the first tackle there's a bit of afters in there. There's a punch thrown, and Amari Caro takes one from Jordan Case as a touch judge is on, and Ethan Ryan tries to play the ball quick. The players are still together, there's still some finger pointing going on, but the touch judge comes on, and I think depending on what the touch judge says, but the punch certainly came from Jordan Case on Amari Caro, but Amari Caro did push Jordan Chase away initially to try and speed up the play of the ball. So it's all down to interpretation, isn't it? It's 6-1 and 2 threes of another. Yeah. So
I think the Bradford is getting frustrated now that that Rochdale are slowing things down. I'm surprised that there's not been a card given there. There were a couple of punches thrown.
Yeah.
Or it's just a hard word to say, boys, this is it, carry on playing rugby now, otherwise we're off.
That's it. Well, play continues then as Ilias McCarney will take that drive. Andy Sweet's telling Rochdale to get on side, but they're all offside at that play of the ball, as the ball eventually finds its way across the park to Ethan Ryan. Ethan Ryan is wrapped up 45 metres away from his own try line, as Bradford sit 5 metres away from the halfway line, eventually managing through John Magrin on the fifth and last tackle to get just over the halfway line. Scott Moore will find Corey Aston. Corey Aston will kick That's a little bit of a shallow kick. It bounces just right for James Bentley, and unfortunately the referee's going to rule a knock on.
It's unfortunate that, because if you'd just taken a look there, Jake Eccleston was offside every single time then.
Yeah.
You know, those 3 tackles ago, we had 5 of the Rochdales offside, and, you know, unfortunately he's not picking up on that at all. And it's just, is it laziness? Is it, you know, who knows? But this is ridiculous now. Rochdale need to pull the game together, or they need to be called up for it.
Well, Rochdale then will restart, as that was the 5th and last tackle, and now Bradford will have to stand resolute in defence and try to stop Rochdale getting any forward momentum, as Rochdale make it up towards their 30-metre line. And again now, James Bentley is in there, Joe Keys is in there, helped out by Scotty Moore to bring down the big frame of Jake Eccleston, as Rochdale running the ball in the centre of the park before switching now towards its main stand side. And Rochdale come up with a little bit of a chip kick over the top. That eventually finds the ball into the hands of James Bentley, and James Bentley collects that one, facing his own sticks, but the referee says that's a knock on, and well, he's actually pulled obstruction there and given the penalty to Rochdale.
Yeah, I'm not sure really what he's seeing at the scene or what he's looking, but Bradford need to play a really clean game now. The rain started coming down, so even more so a reason just to tuck the ball up and play safely and fight to get back on side.
Yeah, well, conditions changing here at Alsall then as the Evans Open, and around about 20 minutes left on this one. Bradford lead the Rochdale Hornets 56 points to 6, and Rochdale on the 3rd tackle of this set of 6 will look to come forward. They now sit on the Bradford, well, 12 metres away from the Bradford Bulls try line. And they will put the ball through hands. That will go to Declan Kay. Declan Kay then will find Lewis Hatton, as Lewis Hatton takes a surging run forward before being wrapped up. Rochdale still then trying to find the gap around the centre of the around the stick area, the post of Bradford Bulls. But again, Bradford's defence muscling up on the 5th and last tackle, as Rochdale now get the penalty, and Ethan Ryan adjust to be there, staying in the ruck longer than what's needed. So Rochdale will get another set of 6. And again, Bradford's defence has to muscle up as the ball moves out towards the northern terrace side. Quick play of the hands brings the ball back now towards the uprights. And again, Bradford's defence through Liam Kirk manages to pin down the big frame of Lewis Hatton again. And Rochdale will put the ball through hands, as we now see Jake Eccleston get in on the action, and Jake Eccleston will go towards the try line. He's in a bit of a wrestle with James Bentley and Joe Keys before Rochdale come up with an error, and that's going to be a knock on. Now, which way is it going to go? And the touch judge is saying scrum feed to Rochdale, so he's the judge that the ball has come off the Bradford player first, when clearly, to everybody's amazement here in the main stand, it was obviously off the Rochdale player. But again, the referee can only call what his touch judge says to him, Danica.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, some of these calls, but you know, we've got to take them, and Bradford's got to react to them as they can do.
Well, Rochdale then will continue the play, and they will look to try and add to the 6 points that they currently have on the scoreboard, as the Evans are absolutely opened, and it's tipping it down here at the Alsall Stadium. We've gone from having the sun-drenched tropics to what looks like somebody's turned on the tap. Anyway, Rochdale will look to try and add to the 6 points, and still managing to go forward before the referee Andy Sweets held, as they will now find their way in at the corner, and that try's been coming, and I think that is Chris Riley that manages to touch that one down.
Yeah, I think that was a really lucky try there at the end, and they're moving the ball really well. Conditions are not great. That ball's going to be really slippy, but yet they're still managing to push the ball out wide, and Bradford just didn't react quick enough in their defensive line to get across. Well,
Lewis Galbraith, going in for that try, and adding to the points of his Rochdale team. The score on the Providence scoreboard stands: Bradford Bulls 56, the Rochdale Hornets 10 with the kick to come. And Bradford then not being fully exploited there in defence, but certainly not being aware to where and not reading the play that was happening, Danica.
Just not shifting around enough.
Yeah.
And it comes with maybe it's the weather, maybe they're playing a tighter game, maybe they just didn't see it. But there's communication. Need to push it out from the middle and make sure we close the gap. So this rain is really starting to pour down now. So Bradford are going to have to adapt well, keep the ball secure, and just hit it up. My points now would be hit it down the middle of the pack and just draw on the defence, tie them out, and then look to play it.
Well, Danny Yates then converting that one for Rochdale to push them out to 12 points. A score on the Providence scoreboard now reads Bradford Bulls 56, the Rochdale Hornets 12. You're listening to the Big Match live here from the Providence Stadium, Odsal. Brought to you in association with Providence, supporting Bull supporters home and away. Rochdale then will now come back, and that is an absolutely fantastic defence muscle up there from Bradford as John Magrin and Colton Roach double up on the imposing figure of Jordan Case and bring him down. But Rochdale still have possession on the third tackle, and they now sit around about 25 metres away from their own try line. Bradford's defence has been good so far, but gaps are opening as players begin to tire. But eventually we see the Rochdale Hornets player brought down just 3 metres shy of the halfway line as Danny Yates moves the ball across the park, and he's looking for runners. Eventually does find a runner, and he's all down just over the halfway line as the imposing figure of Matthew Haddon then puts the ball up high. That ricochets around under the wet conditions, and that's going to mean Amari Carr has to hack that one dead. But the referee is going to bring it back, and again he's going to award Northern Terrace side as Vila Halafihi quickly taps that one to Evan Hodgson. Evan Hodgson is brought down. He will get up and play the ball. The ball then finds its way into the hands of Colton Roach. And Scott Moore waits for Colton Roach on the second tackle to get up so he can quickly find Corey Aston. Corey Aston, Joe Keys. Joe Keys finds Ross Oakes. Ross Oakes hits and spins and gets Bradford towards the Rochdale 10-metre line. Bradford then still hunting through Joe Keys. Joe Keys goes across the park before finding John Magrin, and John Magrin then loses the ball in the tackle, and he's again, Andy Sweet gives a penalty to Bradford. Now I make that the 10th penalty of the afternoon to Bradford, and it's right in front of the sticks. Scott Moore talking to the rest of the team, and Bradford are going to run it through Liam Kirk. A quick tap then, and Liam Kirk straightens up and goes towards the post. A quick play of the ball. Scott Moore, yes, scores, and that has been coming, and I like Scotty. I've got to know him this season. He's a nice enough lad, and that's no more than he deserves. Yeah,
he's definitely been trying to get himself over the white line, hasn't he? And he could have passed it out, made it a bit of an easier try, but he definitely wants to take it himself and get the points on the board.
Well, the Bradford Bulls hit 60 points as they now lead the Rochdale Hornets 60 points to 12. Around about 10 minutes left on the Provident clock, so there's plenty of time for them to add to this one. And it's not been a bad show, has it? An end of season show. Sometimes you come to a game and you think the end of season and there's nothing really to play for. But it's certainly seen Bradford play with pride and passion today. And any fans that stood on the terraces, any fans that's in this main stand, or people that's even sat at home because they've not been able to make this game today. If you're thinking about a season ticket for next season, on the show that we've seen today, it's certainly worthwhile putting your hand in your pocket and buying one, I think.
Yeah, it's for sure. You said something about, this is for the fans, and it is at the end of the day, that those fans that really know the ins and outs of rugby, there's a few things that you'd pick up and a few comments you'd like to make about the technical aspect of the game. But as a whole, it's a real show this for the fans. The scoreboard is great. The drama's been great. Bradford have been great. They're fiery, they're fast, they look fit, they look like they know what they're doing, they're composed, they're organised. That's exactly what the fans want to see.
Well, the Bradford Bulls now lead from following the conversion by Corey Aston. The Bradford Bulls lead 62 points to 12 over the Rochdale Hornets. Rochdale quickly get that one underway. Kick it deep to Ilias McCarney. Ilias McCarney then finds Liam Kirk, and Liam Kirk is brought down just over his own 20-metre line. We now see the ball in the hands of Colton Roach. Colton Roach manages to get over the 30-metre line and still going forward as Bradford will look to find more points from this one. And Ross Oakes hits and spins, and Ross Oakes again manages now. He falls just shy of the halfway line as Bradford quickly pay the ball. And we now see Corey Aston go forward, and Corey Aston looking to certainly get in there as the ball ricochets off Scott Moore and Evan Hodgson, and Evan Hodgson going a little bit before Scott Moore was ready. So that's an error that we'll see Rochdale get the possession. And again, now Rochdale get to the 40-metre line as they look now to come back down the park over on the northern stand terrace side. The rain stopped, but it's still going to be slippery and greasy under there, as is evident from, well, we now see another penalty to Rochdale for a high tackle. Rochdale wanting to get on with it quickly, and the referee says, no, you're going to have to wait. So he brings Jack Holmes back.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Bradford Bulls would like to invite you, the fans, into the vision of the conference and banqueting suite after the game to meet with the players.
As Rochdale now will get us back underway. 5 metres in from the northern terrace side, and managing to get towards the Bradford Bulls 20-metre line, and eventually wrapped up by Scott Moore as the band strike up in the background. A little chip kick over the top. That is misread by Ethan Ryan and sees Rochdale score. Now, I'm not too sure who that is that scored for Rochdale, Danica, because I can't make that number. Can you make that number out on his back?
No, needing to
turn
himself around a little bit. He looks very happy with himself, regardless of who it is.
Yeah, Jack Holmes is who they've given it to. So we've got to go with the announcement of that. That sees Rochdale move on to 16 points, and the reason I'm saying is, we've got a player out there who there's no number on his shirt. It's just like two big blobs, isn't it?
An unknown entity there, and a great phase of play there by Rochdale that just saw, managed to disorganise the Bradford defence there and got a quick play of the ball and utilise the gaps that had opened up. Bradford maybe coming to, they're a good late way ahead now. They've got this game pretty much in the bag. It doesn't mean they need to switch off just yet. Play out the last, 6 minutes or whatever it is. And let's not try and let Rochdale back in again.
No. Well, Danny Yates then unsuccessful with that conversion attempt. So that will see the score on the Providence scoreboard now read: the Bradford Bulls 62, the Rochdale Hornets 16. As we just over 6.5 minutes left in this one then, and Bradford have been well worth the victory today. I'm not going to take anything away from Bradford because they have at times played some good enterprising rugby. There's also soaked up the nitty-gritty of Rochdale. When Rochdale wanted to be grubby and dirty in the play, Bradford have said yes, and that's a pleasing sign, because at times this season Bradford have been bullied out of games. As we see Corey Aston then kick that one deep. That will bounce behind Lewis Palfrey, and that will give a bit of an advantage to Bradford as they manage to muscle up in defence through Ross Oakes and James Bentley then. And Rochdale will now go across the park with Jake Eccleston. And Jake Eccleston just manages to get over the 10-metre line in the centre of the park. Scott Moore in there and Ross Peltier. And fantastic, well, I'm saying fantastic, it is fantastic, it's a fantastic result for Bradford because Jake Eccleston comes up with a knock-on.
Yeah, Bradford are lucky there, and as you can see now, them taking them time. They're in no rush at all.
No.
They'll take the time to form the scrum and to play out this last, what will be 6 minutes, just short of 6 minutes now.
Yeah.
There's no way that Rochdale are coming back, but for the fans, maybe Bradford could get a couple more points on the board. Do you reckon? Yeah,
I reckon it'd be nice just to get closer to that 70 points and make it look a decent scoreline. For just to send the fans home happy. The crowd has just been given out. The official attendance today is 3,604, so not a bad turnout for the last game of the season. So it certainly means, quite a lot to the fans that's turned up here today. And it all bodes well for the future, I think, on this performance. Scott Moore then, from the scrum. Scott Moore is tackled 11 metres out from the Rochdale try line as Bradford looking to add to that tally through Colton Roach. Colton Roach is eventually brought down. The ball will find its way now to Corey Aston. And Corey Aston is brought down from just shy of the 10-metre line as Ross Peltier then will go on another barnstorming run towards the line before he's wrapped up on the third tackle. And again, Ross Peltier wanting to play it quick. Bradford targeting that Northern Terrace side. That should be back to 1, but the referee's going no. He's going to go for a knock-on and give the possession back to Rochdale. He's consulting with his touch judge here. And after being consulted with the touch judge, he actually gives possession back to Bradford. So rather than going back to 1, he's going to give Bradford the restart from the scrum, and Bradford will have 6 tackles to go as the heavens open again. 4 minutes left on the Provident clock, and it's certainly got a little bit chillier here as the sun's disappeared. Or at least the fans will be warmed by this display from Bradford today.
Yeah,
Scott Moore then.
indeed.
Scott Moore again takes the ball, and Scott Moore goes towards the try line. He's brought down around about 5 metres shy now as Bradford will look to go charging through, and Ross Peltier absolutely drops the ball again. Now, we've seen this on numerous times this season. When Ross Peltier's got close to the line, he drops the ball. Now, Danica, I played scrum half, and to me, when I was close up there, that ball was in my arms and I held it tight and it wasn't going anywhere. But, forwards like that, and we've seen it time and time again, me and Hobble have said it, what causes that? Is that just laziness or...?
Oh, you've got a combination there, haven't you? You've got the conditions at the minute, the ball's really wet, it's going to be slippery. You've got the power that he runs at. I mean, you look at the speed he sets off at, he's catching the ball at quite some pace and quite some force, and it's just not getting your hands up in time, or maybe the ball's a little bit low or high, and that causes it then to just carry on bouncing through, unfortunately. No excuses. I'm a prop myself, I've done it a couple of times, but it's frustrating to say the least, and no excuse as such, but maybe I'm trying to understand it a bit more why.
Well, Rochdale, with nothing left to play for but pride in this one, come up with an error that hands the possession back to Bradford, and we see Ross Peltier kick, and I'm laughing here because Andy Sweet's going to bring the player back when I think Bradford knew that they were going to get the ball back, and Andy Sweet is going to call a scrum because it was the knock on, on the free play, if you like, that allowed Bradford to show a bit of inventiveness, and Ross Peltier hacked it forward for Elias McCartney to chase after. Elias couldn't get there, and the referee by that time had blown the whistle as the Evans absolutely open here now at Aldsall Stadium. And there's round about, just over 3 minutes left on the Provident clock. 3 minutes left of this game, 3 minutes left of this season, as Bradford will try to finish with a flourish. And Scott Moore then takes the ball from the scum, and Scott Moore feeds James Bentley. James Bentley's brought down on the Rochdale 40-metre line. He gets up and plays the ball. Liam Kirk takes us towards the Rochdale 30-metre line. Good yardage from Liam Kirk. He will get up and play the ball. Sam Ellis then will run to his right and try and exploit the yardage and make some good yards with Sam Ellis. Plays the ball quickly as Bradford will go towards that Northern Terrace side before eventually Heaven Hodgson is brought down 11 metres shy of the Rochdale try line. Ross Peltier then, his big frame bullocking forward. He's not going to drop it this time. The only place it's going is over the line, and again Ross Peltier scores his second try of the afternoon, certainly making amends for his earlier drop ball, Danica.
Yeah, he's such a formidable force. The way that he runs, the power that he runs at, makes it difficult for any defensive line to bring him down. We've seen him fumble the ball a little bit earlier on, but you can't take away the fact that when he hits that line, he hits it with conviction, and it's paid off for him, and it's a well-deserved try for us, and I'm glad that he managed to get that ball down.
Well, I spoke to Ross through the week, and he liked the line that we said last week about him diving in for his KFC dinner, but I'm not. I promised him I wouldn't be as harsh on him this week, so I'm not going to be. But yeah, I think the Bradford Bulls fans this season have taken Ross to the heart. He is a Bradford lad, he loves the club, he was glad when he re-signed. I don't know what's happening with Ross, whether he's re-signing next season or not, but on this showing I think that he's done enough if he does get offered a contract to be here for next season. Corey Aston then converts, and that will see the score move out to the Bradford Bulls 68, the Rochdale Hornets 6, with just over a minute left on the Provident clock.
Yeah, Mari Caro kicked that one. I don't know if he's taking it in turns. Yeah, but
all right. Well, I'm gonna change that. Amari Caro then kicking it. I'm not used to seeing Amari Caro kick, to be honest with you.
Do you think they're just letting everyone have a go now that they?
Yeah, end of season, innit? So if we score again, it'll be Jeff Tooby that comes on and kicks it. And talking about scoring again, that is what exactly is going to happen as we see Vila. He's down. Fantastic try to finish off this season here at the Provident Oxford Stadium. That is fantastic. And will Tooby come on and kick it? Who knows?
Just as we were saying that was just an interception in the Rochdale attack there, and a fantastic break down that line, and a well-deserved try. And what a way to finish off this game at Odsall. An incredible try, an incredible break down the wing there. Fantastic. Should we play the game of if you try, you've got to convert, do you reckon?
Well,
you might as well now,
Who knows? Who knows?
Maybe I'll ask him if I can have a go.
Well, they've given the try to Corey Aston. I've gone for Vila Alafifi there, but I'm surprised here because it looked like Vila Alafifi had got that try there, but they've given it to Corey Aston. I tell you, I'm off to Specsavers. Well, the excitement and everything, you know, and the rain and everything, and I've got to... I've got to be honest with you that Corey Aston then raced away for that one. The final looter has gone, and that will see the final score here at the Providence Stadium Odsall in the final game of 2017.